Welcome back to the My Inner Struggle podcast. I'm Laura Ferry, and today we're having a powerful conversation about something so many women quietly navigate: alcohol, motherhood, and what it means to feel truly supported while choosing a different path. I'm joined by two incredible women, Gillian Brown and Karen Long, the founders of Our Circle, an online community for alcohol-free moms. They've created a space where honesty, healing, and connection are the norm, a place where moms can be seen without judgment and supported without explanation. In this episode, we talk about the emotional layers behind alcohol use, what it looks like to break old patterns, and how community can change everything when you're trying to make a shift in your life. Whether you're sober curious, reevaluating your relationship with alcohol, or simply craving deeper connection in motherhood, this is an episode you're going to feel. So, when you're ready, grab a cup of coffee and come get uncomfortable with me. Hi, Gillian and Karen. Thank you for being here with me today. It's so good to have you.
Hello, how are you?
So, this is a little different for me. So, where are you both from? Because we're all from different places.
We are. So I'm in England, so I'm in Yorkshire. I'm originally from the south, but I moved to the north. So yeah, that's where I am. And I am even further north. I'm in Scotland. So we have quite a unique setup in that we share like a business and a vision, but we're in two separate countries.
So, how far away from each other are you?
Well, we've met halfway a few times, and that was a couple of hours for each of us, so about 4 or 5 hours away. Yeah, a good 4 hours to drive.
So, I definitely have some questions about that pertaining to business later on in the conversation. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves and kind of say what it is that you do?
Sure, I'll go. Will I go, Karen? Yeah, that's fine. So, yeah. We are Our Circle, and we are for alcohol-free mums. So we offer alcohol-free experiences and coaching to help mums readdress their relationship with alcohol. So whatever that means to them. So for some that will be stopping altogether. For some it'll be a tactical break. And we just help mums go from exhausted, drained, lacking energy and motivation, and usually from a place whereby they are using alcohol as a means of coping with the demands of motherhood. We are not trained to work in the addiction space. It's very much that kind of middle lane drinking whereby it's used for something, be that stress, boredom, loneliness, isolation, confidence, and then help mums realise that without that alcohol, life is just a million times better. Like they can be happier, healthier, calmer is always one that comes up for the mums. Just realise that life can be so much better without alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's sort of like, I feel, and you never really know if it's actually happening around us or you start finding the right people to be around.
Mm-hmm.
But even in myself too. So I published a book earlier this year, and I don't even know if I told you about that, but it's actually called Is It an Open Bar? Because there were times in my life where I was using, whether it was food or alcohol or anything else as a coping mechanism. And once you eliminate that distraction, how much more clear you get on so many things. Yeah, so I can definitely resonate with that. And specifically to moms too, because for me, it was kind of how I dealt with my social anxiety. If I was going somewhere, a party, football Sunday or something like that, it's totally socially acceptable to, and here's my cat, totally socially acceptable to, drink, and feel good in order to have a good time, right? And for me, it was my lack of confidence in myself and what I had to offer in a conversation. And when I got divorced, I kind of made a rule for myself and I was like, I'm not going to drink alone because that's where it could get kind of tricky for me, right? Because if I make this rule for myself, then I know at least when I'm alone, which is a lot of the time, alone meaning no other adult interaction, right? So it was interesting. So I'm curious to hear what some of the challenges are that these women that come to you face. You're guiding them through this process or being that support for them. Is
Mm.
it mainly in like a group atmosphere, or is it individual, or is it both?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's important to say that we created our circle through our own struggles and our own
Mhm.
journeys, and actually we've created the community that we were looking for when we were going through our own alcohol
Yeah,
free experiences. So what's super important to us is that we identify with the mums that come and join us. We work in both ways. Predominantly, we've been working in a group setting. Mums come into our community, and we do a group program over a period of 8 weeks. But we do also do one-to-one coaching as well. And actually, some mums like a bit of both. They want to have that
right,
individual coaching, could be something a bit more personal that they would like to share with us and work through. But they also love the power of the community where they feel like it's not just them. And I think that's so
right.
powerful when you realize it's not just you that have these thoughts, these feelings, these beliefs about alcohol and the society we live in, and you get to share them. That's where the magic really happens. So yeah, it's, as I say, a bit of both, but just yeah, I think that's the thing when women come together, isn't it? Like we just
Yes.
create magic.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is that, like, when I was going through this or in any capacity until probably the last few years, I group things were not my thing. I mean, I
Mm,
liked people, I liked having people around, but if I was going to be vulnerable, it wasn't going to be in a group of people.
no,
And how much has changed because here I am saying everything to
yeah.
everyone, but it was just as you said, creating that community that I needed during those times. So I definitely have clients that are the same thing. You know, they'll come to me, they're like, group's not really my thing. I don't really want to do that. And then eventually kind of jump on. And then she's like, I don't know why I was so hesitant because it's so
Yeah.
nice to hear people have the same thoughts or are going through the
Mhm.
same struggles, and I don't feel so weird anymore because
Yeah.
I've been, struggling with this, and so is so and so, and now I
Mhm.
understand. And it's just a beautiful thing to create that safe space for women, to come together because there are so much negative and bad stuff out there. Having a safe space is what saves a lot of people for sure.
It's so liberating, isn't it? Like to be
Yeah.
able to come in there and feel empowered and liberated and confident to, yeah, to be able to share your deepest, darkest secrets, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And it's different from like your friend circle that you might like hang out with, or if
Mm.
your kids
Yeah.
play sports with, or something like that, because this is like
Mhm.
a safe space where it's a judgment-free zone and you are free to be
Mhm.
yourself. And in those kind of surface level scenarios, it's not quite the same,
No,
right?
Yeah.
no.
So, how did you two meet and create this together, being so far apart?
It's a bit of a random story. So I think is when, as individuals, when we gave up alcohol, one of the things you find is time. Like you're no longer drinking, you're no longer hungover, and you're also no longer thinking about alcohol. So you get all this time, and you do then start like really wanting to invest in yourself. Like you're starting to feel better in yourself, getting a bit more confidence. And one of the things that we each done was through a man, Andy Ramage, who's quite prominent in the alcohol free space over here. He had his own kind of community and he was training people to become coaches. So we both signed up for one of these courses, and on the very first session and the very first like we practice run, we got put in a like triad to practice with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there it's just kept going. Like we then started meeting online, and this is when Karen was further south. Karen
Yes.
was like in Essex at the time, so we were meeting up out with the course to practice our coaching skills, and through that just started talking about our own experiences with
Mm-hmm.
alcohol, our own frustrations with that mummy wine culture, and what we hope to do with our coaching skills. And there was so many similarities, and it just kept going. It just grew really quite organically for there, and then we like eventually plucked up the courage to get things moving, and we set up our circle. So yeah, it's quite
That's
interesting.
so cool. Yeah, I love that. I actually, earlier this morning, I connected with someone that I hadn't talked to in a little while, but we had been in the same coaching program. And he lives in Mexico. So he's easily, I don't know. I mean, it would have to be a plane ride, obviously, so far away, and time zones behind me. And it was really cool. Just kind of, we did the same thing. We had connected and then we just started sort of meeting weekly virtually and coaching each other to, refine those skills and just learn about
Yeah.
ourselves and things
Yeah.
like that. And it's so cool. So is there, because both of you obviously had your own separate journeys and then you're here now. Is there a moment when everything like shifted at the time? Even if it felt like a small shift, but it was like moving in the right direction. Like what was that like? Or were you meeting and then all of a sudden it was like all the moons aligned and you're like, we found each other and now we can create this like safe space. Like what was that like?
Yes, I
I
think
don't know. I
towards.
think
Sorry, go on, Gillian.
no, you go, Cam. You go for it.
You sure? I was just going to say, like, towards the end of the, so we trained for 6 months and we kept having these conversations and we both had like that same vision that it was mums that we wanted to support. So I honestly believe that we were destined to meet and we were destined to come together to create this. And yeah, we just sort of said, I don't know, should we give it a go? Should we do something? And then we did then for quite a while. We kind of sat with it. And then I think it must have been about like 10 months. And then we got to the point where we were like, okay. And we actually got the name, we got everything out there, and we finally launched about a year after we graduated, wasn't it? So yeah,
Wow, it's
and
really
2 years
cool.
down the lines, yeah, I did do a
Yeah.
massive house move in the middle of that and like up the sticks across country. So
Well, there was that, right? Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
were there any surprising lessons that you learned along the way in this journey of building our circle?
I think for me, one of the biggest surprises has been how little we've like. I suppose, see, before I'd be quite a catastrophic thinker, like, and if something didn't work out, I'd be like, "Oh my god, this isn't working," and stuff. But I think, and what I'm really proud of, is that when things do come up, we're like, "Oh, that's really good learning." Like now we know that.
Yeah.
Like, let's do this differently. Whereas I think for years I would have been like, I would have let one setback
Mm.
totally throw me off. And I don't know whether that's because there's the two of us. Like sometimes even if I'm a bit hesitant or worried or feeling a bit let down or feeling like I'm a bit of a fraud, like that imposter syndrome you get,
Hmm.
like Karen's there to have like that's maybe when Karen's feeling quite confident and stuff.
Mm.
But I think there's been so many things have came up and we have been like, okay, so now let's put this in place, and we've
Yeah.
done it and moved on, and then the next thing comes along. I mean, even today we got feedback from one of the women that's in our circle, and we were just like, wow, that's great, that's brilliant, let's do this now.
Mm.
So I'm quite proud of myself. I'm quite proud of us for handling it like that, as opposed to being like this is such a drama and
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
And you
letting
don't
it
take it as personally, do we? I
personally.
think that's the thing. And I think probably I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of you, but we've probably both been a little bit sensitive to that. I mean, I know I have been
Mm-hmm.
incredibly like sensitive to feedback in the past, in corporate roles and that kind of thing. And I've taken everything, really inside. Whereas with this, it's actually, I think because it's the two of us and we're learning and we're like, okay, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving us that gift to be able to grow and expand. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we level each other out as well, don't we? Definitely. Like I might see something one way and he'll see it the other, but we always seem to come together with a common ground. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's where because we do joke sometimes, like when there's a decision to get made, it always seems like we make the same, we come together at the same
That's
point.
a good thing.
And
That's good.
Yeah.
it's amazing, but I think that's having a really clear vision and a really clear why, that
Mm-hmm.
we're that's always in the forefront, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's something that always keeps us not even on track. Like we're just always pointing in the same direction, which
Mm-hmm.
I think helps for any decisions that are getting made within our business.
Yeah, I think that you go about the collaboration in the right way. It
Mm-hmm.
seems, yeah, because you meet so many people that go into business together, and it can kind of ruin things, obviously. But it's sort of like the vibe that I get is what you're like, let's try this out. Let's see what happens. And you're looking forward to collaboration rather than it's like a chore. Well, I'll give them this one, but I really want it
Yeah.
this way or whatever. And there's definitely, like there's a stigma that goes along with having a business partner, I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And the collaboration that you two have seems wonderful and loving, and that's really important. Um,
Definitely.
Gillian, what you were saying before about catastrophizing things, like that was one of my biggest things. And I just reflected on that this morning too. Do you think that, and it's really cool. It's almost, I mean, to observe yourself, right? And something gets thrown in your lap or, something happens and you're kind of like, huh, okay. It's so different from what it used to be and those feelings that would stir up. Do you think that it was the collaboration with Karen that really shifted that for you, like in that instance, or had that been something that you like kind of grew together since you've been partners for a couple years?
I think first of all, like that's been a big shift having given up alcohol. Like
Mm-hmm.
that just created a. I had such a fixed mindset when I was drinking, and I was just stuck in a very small world. I'd
Mm-hmm.
made a small place for myself. But I think when you stop drinking and you start to learn about yourself and grow in yourself, with that comes some confidence. Do you know what I mean? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I think when you've had a drink, or like you slip or you try again and you slip, you try again, you start to build this wee belief in yourself that, right, okay, come on, just let's try again. And so that then seeps into all areas of your life, I think. But I would definitely say, knowing that I've always got Karen there as well is like, so see, sometimes if we'll always say to one another, that's the beauty of there being two of us. Like, because I think we're both mums, right? So there's like 101 other things going on in our life and
Mm-hmm.
working. So there's all these other responsibilities. And sometimes like, oh, I've not managed to get that. I've not managed to get to that yet. I've not managed to get. We're like, that's fine. That's fine. There's two of us. So you do what you need to do and I'll pick this up. And there's just always been a bit of a flow between us, I think. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely helped having like somebody in your corner, I suppose, just to know that somebody's got your back. Really, I think that's a better way to describe it.
Definitely. I think the alcohol takes the drama away out of your life as well, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because that takes away like the highs and the lows and that roller coaster, and you're on like such an even keel. I think you're able to communicate better, you're able to be calmer, you
Mm-hmm.
take time, you can listen. And I think through building those skills, honestly, and I also, as I say, believe that we were meant to work together and we were meant to come into each other's lives as well. But I just think that helps us to be so synchronized in our ways.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it just kind of popped into my head as I remember years ago having a friend who had two small children, and when you have little children, you're in the thick of it, right? What is it? They say like bigger kids, bigger problems. My kids are not, I don't want to say they're all grown. I have a 19-year-old, almost 17-year-old, and a 10-year-old, but it's definitely different than it was when they were like 5 and 7 because
Mhm.
and even smaller because you're there for them physically, the things that they can't
Yeah.
do, and then as they get older, you're emotional availability has to be like on point, right?
Yeah.
But even so I had a friend at the time that, she would count down until she could open that bottle of wine every day, from like
Mm-hmm.
noon. Okay, then it'll be nap time. Then I can get to this. And then I can finally open that
Mm-hmm.
bottle of wine while I'm making dinner. And there's so much static. And as you said, Jillian, you put it beautifully when you said, I have so much more space and time because you're not thinking about when am I going to be able to drink again? How long am I going to be able to drink? Am I going to feel okay? And then you're going to bed with everything in your body, right? And then waking up the next day feeling like crap because you abused your body. And when you no longer have that, how much space you have to let in all those good things. And that's with any of those vices, really. Anything that
Yeah.
you're using
Yeah.
as a coping mechanism to get through. And that's really, I can only imagine what happens in your circle, honestly, because as people are going through this transformation, they're discovering so much about themselves,
Yeah.
good and bad, and things that they
Mm-hmm.
need to address and work on.
Yeah.
But that's such a beautiful thing. For someone who's listening, who's struggling, what's a practical first step that they could take to move forward in this situation?
Do you want to
Me?
go
Yeah.
for it?
Yeah.
That's probably the
So I
hardest
think,
part, right? You're like, do you want to go or
yeah.
do you want me to go?
So I think there's probably a couple of things if you're at that very first point. I think one really key thing to do is to really channel your why. So we talk about our why so much.
Hmm.
So you need to let go of the I need to stop drinking and the maybe the health reasons. We all know that drinking alcohol is not great for us.
Right.
Really channel into that emotion of what needs to change for you. And the more emotional and the deeper you go with it, the better, because that will then stand you in such good stead if you do choose to then take action.
Hmm.
So definitely do that. I would also say immerse yourself. So I would listen to podcasts. I would read quick lit books because the quicker that you realize it's not just you, honestly, the quicker that you're ready to jump in. It's a brave step, but it's daunting and it can feel scary and it can feel lonely. But the quicker you realise it's not just you, the quicker you feel, actually, do you know what? This is possible.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
couldn't agree
totally.
more. Yeah.
My wee tip for people is always just to kind of take the drama out of it and just run an experiment. Like for me, I started drinking when I was a teenager, and then there probably wasn't really any period of time that I didn't drink after that. Do you know what I mean? It just became so, it was like every weekend when you were younger, in a park, then a pub, then at uni, then the house. So like, but we seem to think if I don't have a drink tonight, that's it. Like we make it a big drama. Like, but why don't you just run an experiment and see how it feels? If it is
Hmm.
horrible, I say I don't know what you call it in America. Like I would say get leathered the next night. Like get steaming drunk. Who cares? Like just have a few drinks the next night. Don't make it such a big drama. But if you don't
Right.
try it, you'll never know. People always say, I could never go on holiday. Well, why don't you try it and see? It might be the best holiday you've ever had. Christmas, weddings, night out with the girls. Unless you try it and bank your own evidence, you'll never know. But for some reason, we seem to think if I say I'm not drinking tonight, that's it. That's it over. And you're like, have a bit
It doesn't
more.
have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to
No,
be
No,
all
it
or nothing.
doesn't. It doesn't. So just relax, see what it's like. If you might hate it, and that's fine. Drink again the next time. Obviously, bearing in mind, we are not working with people who are addicted to alcohol.
Right.
This is people who are middle lane drinkers. Obviously, wouldn't say that to somebody whose health is physically dependent on
Hmm.
this, or whose marriage or job and stuff. But for the women that we work with, like, lighten up. Let's run this as an experiment. It doesn't need to be dead serious. And then you've got your own evidence to make an informed decision about what you want to do. And
Hmm.
then you can move on from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good way to put it. And the same, Karen, when you were saying before, just trying different things and exposing yourself to all the positive things. That's what,
Mm-hmm.
like, a lot
Yeah.
of women come to me like, how do I start? Where do I even
Mhm.
start? And I say, just start filling your head with positive information, whether it's the books you're reading, the podcasts
Yep.
you're listening to, the shows
Yeah.
that you're watching. Do you know how many people sit in front of like crime TV and we sit
Mhm.
here like paranoid and we wonder why because
Yeah.
it's what we're constantly exposing ourselves to. And
Yeah.
so I couldn't
Yep.
have said it better myself. That is always the thing. And when I'm feeling like unmotivated or stuck or whatever,
Mhm.
that's when I'll go for a walk, get outside and put on an audiobook, something
Mhm.
positive. I
Yep.
have my go-tos that I listen to or a podcast or something like that, just to
Mhm.
kind of get out of it. I used to,
Yeah.
and I said it in my book, but I used to say like when I was struggling all those years with my own confidence and everything else, like I would say like before I had my kind of transformation moment, maybe when I was
Mhm.
really, really struggling. I used to say, and I've written it a few times, it's like, I wish I could just dip myself like in confidence, like they do, like with a
Yeah.
cat, like what they do, like a flea dip or something, like just dip my whole self in. And then I'd come out like, oh, this is magical. But
Mhm.
essentially, when you're doing these things, that's exactly what you're
Mhm.
doing, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
little by little. And that's such a beautiful thing. So,
Mhm.
where can everybody find you? Like, what would, if they were interested in working with you, where could they find your information? What would be the best route?
So our website is like our-circle.co.uk. The Instagram handle's a bit of a mouthful, so it's like alcohol underscore free underscore mums underscore coaching. So it's a bit of a
Okay.
mouthful. So the website's probably the easiest.
Okay. And
Mhm.
are your socials linked on your website? They could go from there too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, ladies. It was so great talking with you and hearing about all the beautiful things that you're doing. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that we were able to connect.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having us. It's been an absolute pleasure. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. I hope something in today's episode made you feel a little more seen, a little less alone, and reminded you that you're allowed to choose what supports your well being, even if it looks different from what everyone else is doing. A huge thank you again to Gillian and Karen from Our Circle for the work they're doing to create connection and community for alcohol-free moms. If this message resonated with you, definitely go check them out. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to share it with a friend, someone who might need to hear this today. And if you haven't already, please make sure to follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. Thank you for being here and for listening and for doing the inner work alongside me. As always, I'm thinking of you and sending you love, and I will see you soon.